Good morning, everybody. Good morning. I can't hear everybody. Good morning. How you doing?
Good morning.
Good. So listen, let's get started. You ever have a moment in your life where you realize there's something different about you, like something unique? Almost like you're a weirdo, but like in a good way. I realized when I was a weirdo a long time ago. I've been weird all my life, but I never knew what it was for. When I was a kid growing up, when I was in elementary school, I had this crush on this girl named Fifi. Don't judge what I like, okay? She was a girl from my neighborhood. She had a real big booty, and I was in love. But I was a kid who didn't know how to talk to girls, but I knew if I made a girl laugh, I can get her attention. So I remember sitting behind her on the bus, and I was playing in her hair, and she was like, "Stop." I touched her hair. "Will you stop?" "Do it again, I'm gonna punch you in your face. I'm not playing with you." So me being the smooth guy that I am, I touched her hair one more time, and she punched me in my chest. You ever get hit so hard your lips start trembling? She knocked all the wind out of me, and I had a tear come down my cheek, and I wiped it off because I couldn't let her see me, cry, whatever. So anyway, I remember at that moment, I fell in love. Ooh, she made it hurt so good. But it was crazy because I remember when I got off the bus, I kept staring at her window. When the bus drove by, I kept looking at her like, man, she's so cute. But I was so excited about my story. I remember I couldn't wait till later on to go to my best friend's house and tell him about the story. But for some reason at my best friend's house, it was always a ton of people over there, like just for no reason, like just loud, laughing, just a bunch of people all the time. It was older people, young people, kids, me and my best friend. And so everybody was talking, and I was the little kid. I had to wait my turn to talk, right? So it felt like I was playing double dutch. Everybody started talking, and I'm like, okay, I'm gonna jump in this conversation. I'm gonna jump in. And I remember it was a moment where everybody got quiet for a second, and I jumped in the conversation, and all eyes were on me. It was like a spotlight right there. And I was terrified, and I could hear my heart beating fast. And so I started telling my story. I was like, yeah, man, I was on the bus, and I saw Fifi. Yeah, woo! And so I started playing the hand. She was like, stop touching me. And I touched her again. She's like, keep playing. I'm punching you in your face. I'm not playing with you, boy. Stop. And she punched me in my chest and knocked me out. And it was an odd little moment because everybody got quiet, and then they bust out laughing. Something happened. That was weird. Why am I becoming the girl to tell a story about the girl? Why can't I just say what she said? It was weird. Cut to 2 years later, I was in middle school, right? In my middle school, the highlight of school was lunchtime. Oh, we loved lunchtime. Because in my school, we did something called joning. I don't know if y'all call it joning or bagging, where you talk about each other. You talk about your mom or whatever. We call it bagging. And I remember I wound up in this bagging competition with this guy named T. Newsom. Everybody knew T. Newsom. T. Newsom was like one of the funniest guys in school, and you never want to bag with him because he was a champ. I was a little short kid. I had the same size head since I've been 2, right? It ain't that funny, okay? Look. I had the same size head since I've been 2, and I remember everybody crowded around us at lunchtime, and it was time to bag. And T. Newsom, he was this fat, chubby kid, kind of looked like Gary Coleman, right? And so he kind of looked like Gary Coleman. He had this real lazy Southern drawl. He was like, man, what's up, man? And so he started talking about my hair. He was like, hey, man, I know you ain't talking. You like you got a lot on your mind. I was like, man, whatever. I was like, shut up. That's why your mama's so old. When she have nightmares, they be in black and white. And everybody bust out laughing. Not like that, but at the moment, everybody bust out laughing, right? So then it was his turn. And he said something and it landed flat. And everybody was like, womp, womp. And for some reason, instinctively, I repeated what he said in his voice. And I said the exact same thing. And everybody bust out laughing when I said it. It got weird. Something happened. So from that moment on, I stood my ground. And I kept going at him. I was like, yeah, man, that's why your mama's so old. And I kept using his voice. I was like, yeah, man, that's why your mama's so old. She know the recipe for dirt. Everybody lost it. And I won. I beat T. Newsom. I was the bagging champ. The little kid with the big head, that was me. But something happened. At that moment, I realized I had the power to embody people and in characters and stuff. So let me tell you a little bit about myself. I was born in Columbia, South Carolina. Okay, SC, all right. I was an AB student, but I worked really hard. I played football, played sports. I was a terrible test taker, horrible test taker. Where were you when I was in school? Let me tell you something. My SAT score was so low, it was like a bad credit score. Like 400, how you get a 400? You get 2 for writing your name, what's going on? One way or another, I lucked up and I wound up at the University of South Carolina. I majored in finance and management. I was very proud of myself because I was the first person on both sides of my family to graduate from college. I remember after I graduated from college, I found myself in Atlanta, Georgia. I had my first job out of school. I was an accountant. Man, I love my job. I wore a suit to work. Like, to be a little kid from the hood, Bluff Road, and go to work with a suit on. My parents were blue collar, so to go to work with a suit on, I bought my first house. Like, my life was coming together. I was excited. But then when I got to my job, I realized I did the exact same thing every day. Counting numbers. Like, this sucks. I was bored out of my mind. But instead of like being excited about crunching numbers, I was more fascinated by telling stories and making my coworkers laugh. Like, it became addicting where, like, every time I went out, I came to work, I wanted to make people laugh, like, all the time. But I think I was doing too much because I started making people laugh, and I wanted the joke wound up being on me. Because I remember the day I got fired. I'm serious, like, but I should have saw it coming. My boss walked up to my cubicle, and she was like, hey, Ron, we need to come see you in my office. Let me tell you something. When somebody say we need to see you and it's one person, you about to get fired, okay? My face got hot. I was like, oh, what's wrong? What's wrong? So I walked in the office, and she was like, Ron, yeah, we're going to have to let you go. Apparently, you're being too silly, and we need you to focus, okay? But anyway, I got fired, and I walked out of the office. When I tell you, all the people that made laugh started laughing at me on the way out. It was uncomfortable. Because I walked out, I had my little box of stuff, my little I Love Jesus coffee mug. And I'm walking out the door, and everybody's busting out laughing at me. And I'm like, this is embarrassing. It was a very hard time in my life because I was embarrassed. Because, like, my first job out of school, I couldn't tell my parents I lost my first job. Why'd you get fired? Because I was a silly accountant. Nobody trusts a silly person with your money. You know what I'm saying? I was embarrassed. It was painful. I went to school for 4.5 years, and I had nothing to show for it. I didn't know what to do with my life. My life fell apart. I got depressed. I couldn't even date because I'm like, what girl want to date a guy who didn't have a job? It was just a very uncomfortable time in my life. It was dark. I didn't know what to do with it. I went through what I call the quarter-life crisis. Well, basically, you go to school for something, but your heart tells you something different, but you don't really know what it is. And I remember during that time, something really unique happened. My cousin, who was a comedian, he was like, dude, you hilarious. You ever thought about getting on stage and doing comedy? I was like, I don't know. He's like, you should try it. So he took me to this place called Uptown Comedy Club in Atlanta, Georgia. So it was Apollo night, Sunday night, which is boo night. Now, let me tell you something. I don't know if any of y'all ever been booed before, but it was uncomfortable. So I get there, and before I got on stage, it was 3 people that got booed before me. And I'm not talking about regular boo. I'm talking about, like, vicious, people came there just to boo kind of feeling. Yes. So I get on stage, I'm start telling my joke. I'm halfway through my first joke. I hear a boo, but it was an uncomfortable boo because it was the kitchen door swung open. It was a dude in the back making fries, and he started to boo. He was like, boo! I was like, ouch. And I don't know if you've ever been booed before, but it was very uncomfortable. The door swung open, then you could hear everybody else boo, boo, boo. Somebody threw a boo grenade. All I heard was, boo! There was a guy standing right where you was. He stood up right there in front of me while I'm still standing on stage, shocked because I'm getting booed. He was like, hey, man, kill yourself, dog. You ever had somebody tell you to kill yourself? You know how uncomfortable it is somebody tell you to kill yourself while you pursuing your dreams? It was uncomfortable. So in this moment, I didn't know what to do. So I went and sat down in the back of the comedy club right next to the DJ booth. The host came up. He was like, man, he was terrible. Man, that dude was terrible, man. Hey, y'all show some love for Ron G. They was like, boo. He was like, hold on, you mean to tell me every time I say his name, y'all gonna boo? He was like, Ron, boo. G, boo. Ron G, boo. They was still booing me. The waitress came by, gave me my fries. She was like, boo, and walked off. I'm like, no. It was freaking painful. But at that moment, something happened. I fell in love. I fell in love fast. I fell in love with comedy, man. I got so consumed with telling these jokes, man, something inside of me started where, like, I wanted to be great at it. I started performing 2-3 times a day. I started getting these characters and the same stories I was telling at work. I wanted to get on stage and tell them in front of people. And, like, for some reason, every time I became a character or told a story, I would become the people I was talking about. It was weird. Next thing I know, 10 years later, I'm a stand-up comedian. That's what I do with my life. I have the best job in the world. I travel around the world. People pay me. I've been all over the world, man. I met a lot of great people. I've been to London, Canada, Jamaica, Fresno. And I really love what I do for a living. The same little kid who used to become people and told my story and tell stories, I do that now for a living. People pay me to take risks and get on stage and become these characters. And being a comedian is tough. To go on stage with your thoughts and hopefully people like them, it's not guaranteed. In order to be a comedian, you have to have the ability to captivate an audience. You have to walk in front of people and strangers and tell your story and grab people's attention. Even when they've been going through things in their day, you don't know what they go through, but you have to do it. I got obsessed with learning how to be a comedian that I really fell in love with what I did. I remember one day I was watching the president on TV when he first got inaugurated. I've never seen anybody speak like that. He was so powerful and polished, and he had poise and confidence. And I was like, man, wouldn't it be cool if you went to the club and talked to a girl like that? You can't turn the president down in the club. It worked. His campaign worked. You walk up on a girl? No, first of all, thank you. As I look in those big brown eyes, I got to tell you, that's pretty impressive. Now, thank you. Now, appreciate it. Now, what I'd like to do is release a dating stimulus package that will cover 3 areas. First is the communications package, where basically all of our conversation will be covered under my friends and family plan. Thank you. Secondly is the dining package, where basically I will cover your first meal, up to $25. Of that will include an appetizer or dessert, but you can't have both, because I am a baller on a budget. And last but not least is a transportation package, where basically I will come get you within a 30-mile radius of my home. Anything outside the coverage area will be deducted from the dining package. Thank you so much. Have a seat, young lady. I'm performing. But at that moment, something happened. I realized I had this unique gift to become people and create characters on the spot and tell my story. It gave me a sense of power. Can everybody say power? Power. No. Say it how you really mean. Like, say it like you really mean it. Say power. Power. My quirk gave me a unique power. When I say power, it became an acronym for me. Let me explain. Everybody say P. 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 I found my purpose. Slide 1, please. I found my purpose. When I identified my quirk, for some reason, it led me toward my purpose and my dream. It gave me a destination to where I became so consumed with it, that's all I wanted to do with my life. No plan B. This is it. Everybody say O. O. Obstacles. I had a really bad fear of public speaking. I was terrified. 10 years ago, I could never do this. But for some reason, when I set my destination, the obstacles got smaller. When you set the destination, your obstacles aren't important because you have to go through those things. And it's in the journey of getting toward your goal that you learn great things. W. Work ethic. I became so consumed with my dream that that's all I wanted to do. I was performing 2-3 times a day. I performed in every crowd you can think of. Kids, churches, urban. I performed in towns in another country where there were no brown people. Just to work on my craft and become great at what I did. E. I became so consumed with this gift that, and also too, I'm a clean comedian. So my path is a little different from most. So in order to compete with the people that in a different lane, I had to make sure I used the correct act out. I had to make sure I used the right word. I had to use the right inflections to get the same response as somebody who curses all the time throughout the act. R. Ready. I was ready. I perform so much. There's not any given time in my life right now where I'm not scared to get on stage. I can get on stage and perform right now because I prepared myself. I did the work in order to become that. Let me give you a few examples of some people who used their quirk and made a difference in life. There's a young man from Northern California who had a very quirky nature and became a stickler for details. He was a computer geek. He had a real big passion for consumer electronics and pushing the envelope and raising the bar for consumer electronics. He wound up being the co-owner of Apple. His name is Steve Jobs. There's another producer, a music producer, from Virginia Beach, Virginia. He had a real great great ear for music, and a unique fascination and a quirky fascination with astronomy, and also futuristic films. His ability to take old school music and put it with futuristic beats made him one of the greatest producers of our time. He's made music that made all of us happy. He goes by the name of Pharrell Williams. Appreciate it. Yes, that's how I feel too. There's a young man from Bed-Stuy, Brooklyn, who had a unique quirk to be able to take stories and songs and words off the top of his head without even writing them down and create great freestyles. He's created music that all of us have danced to before. He wound up becoming one of the greatest rappers in the game and has one of the baddest chicks wearing his chain. He goes by the name of Jay-Z. There's a young man from Columbia, South Carolina, who always saw in pictures, who had this great, unique ability to embody people and turn these characters into stories on stage. He wound up being one of the greatest comedians of our time. His name is Ron G. What is your gift? What is your quirk? What is that thing that makes you unique, that you're sitting on right now, that you know that can make a contribution to the world? Everybody in here has a purpose. Obstacles become opportunities when you actually set your goal and activate your faith and take that thing and utilize it to get you your goal. Your work ethic determines your level of success. There's many people that want to do what you do, but at the same time, talent, hard work exceeds talent when talent doesn't work hard. Excellence. Be great at what you do. Like I said, there's millions of people that want to do exactly what you do. What makes you different? Your work ethic and your level of excellence sets you apart from everybody else. Be ready. Be ready. Activate your gift today. Do something about it. What is your unique gift? What is your power? Why are you sitting on your gift? Activate it today. I'm Ron G, and I approve this message.